Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jana Valapa Girivardhari Gopi Jana Valapa Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishvat Brahmhamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotra Shatashish His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the simple devotees, all glories to the simple devotees, all glories to the simple devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Ganga. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Fourth Canto, Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 23, Maharaj Prithu's Going Back Home, Text 13. Evam sa vira pravara samyojatmanam atmani brahmabhuta tridam kale Yaja samkalevaram Evam savirya pravara samyojatmanam atmani brahmabhuto didam kale Yaja samkalevaram Evam savirya pravara Samyojatmanam atmani Brahmabhuto Tridam Kale Tatyajasvam Kalevaram.
Evam Sabira Prabhava Samyojatmanatmani Brahmabhuto Dridam Kale Tatyajasvam Kalevaram. Evam Sabira Prabhava Samyojatmanatmani Brahmabhuto Dridam Kale Tatyajasvam Kalevaram. Evam Sabira Prabhava Samyojatmanatmani Brahmabhuto Dridam Kale Tatyajasvam Kalevaram. Evam Sabira Prabhava Samyojatmanatmani Brahmabhuto Dridam Kale Tatyajasvam Kalevaram.
Evam, thus, Saha, he, Virya Pravaraha, the chief of the heroes, Samyojya, applying, Atmanam, mind, Atmani, unto the supersoul, Brahmabhutaha, being liberated, Dridam, firmly, Kale, in due course of time, Tatyaja, gave up, Swam, own, Kalevaram, body. In due course of time, when Prithu Maharaj was to give up his body, he fixed his mind firmly upon the lotus feet of Krishna, and thus, completely situated on the Brahmabhuta platform, he gave up the material body. Purport. According to a Bengali proverb, whatever spiritual progress one makes in life will be tested at the time of death. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 6, it is also confirmed, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tejantyante kalevaram tam tam vivaitikonteya sada tadbhava bhavataha. Those who are practicing Krishna consciousness know that their examination will be held at the time of death. If one can remember Krishna at death, he is immediately transferred to Goloka Vrindavan or Krishna Loka, and thus his life becomes successful. Prithu Maharaj, by the grace of Krishna, could understand that the end of his life was near, and thus he became very jubilant and proceeded to completely give up his body on the Brahmabhuta stage by practicing the yogic process. It is thoroughly described in the following verses how one can voluntarily give up this body and return home, back to Godhead. The yogic process practiced by Prithu Maharaj at the time of death accelerates the giving up of this body while one is in sound health, physically and mentally. Every devotee desires to give up the body while it is sound physically and mentally. This desire was also expressed by King Kulakshekar in his Mukundamala Stotra. Krishna tvadiya padapankacha panjarantam adyaiva me vishatu manasa raja hamsa prana prayana samaye kapavata pittair kanta varodana vidau smaranam kutaste. King Kulakshekar wanted to give up his body while in a healthy state, and he thus prayed to Krishna to let him die immediately while he was in good health and while his mind was sound. When a man dies, he is generally overpowered by mucus and bile, and thus he chokes. Since it is very difficult to vibrate any sound while choking, it is simply by Krishna's grace that one can chant Hare Krishna at the time of death. However, By situating oneself in the muktasana position, a yogi can immediately give up his body and go to whatever planet he desires. A perfect yogi can give up his body whenever he desires to the practice of yoga. Om Gyata Padandosya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshulanmilitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitvachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurundintaranam Vancha Kapadabhishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. In due course of time, when Prithu Maharaj was to give up his body, he fixed his mind firmly upon the lotus feet of Krishna, and thus, completely situated on the Brahma Bhuta platform, he gave up the material body. So, just on a side note, if you refer to Krishna, you could say his bewitching attractiveness, is that proper?
Sure.
Oh yeah? Okay. Doesn't have anything to do with the witch? Okay, so bewitching beauty. Bewitching beauty, bewitching attractiveness. All right, so we're coming to close to the end of these Maharaj Prithu pastimes. We don't have so many verses until the next chapter, which is a completely different topic, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva. And probably be some more time before we make it back again to Prithu Maharaj's instructions and pastimes. We'll see who's around. We'll see who's around there at that time when we make it through again back to. Well, I remember we're in the fourth canto now, and I remember when we started on the first canto some years ago, and specifically I remember because Bhakti Swami gave the first talk on the first verse. Yeah. But I don't know, I guess we could find out when was the last time he was here. Oh yeah, 2012? Okay, so it's taken us so many years. Oh really, 2012? Oh, really? Wow.
I have to know that he has so much in 2012. Well, I mean, we went through a whole.
Yeah.
Well, where were we going? We were in the first years for 2 years and then
Oh, really?
for 2 years and then 4 cantos maybe.
Oh, yeah? Wow. Doesn't seem like that long, but okay. Oh, you're in the second canto? Okay. So, and when I joined, I don't know, I mean, I don't really recall, but I remember we were going through, at one point, the 10th canto, I remember that. Yeah, the 10th canto, but 9th and 8th, maybe it was the 10th, maybe it was 10th, 11th, 12th.
It makes sense if you joined in the 8th.
Oh, yeah?
It makes sense if you joined in the 10th
During the 10th canto? Okay. So, yeah, we'll see, huh? It'll take us some time. I mean, if you read 40 pages a day of the Bhagavatam, Vaisheshika Prabhu calculated all this, in his genius. If you read 40 pages a day, 41 pages a day of the Bhagavatam, you'll finish it in a year. So, all right. So yeah, very interesting pastime is going on now. He's fixing his mind on Krishna's lotus feet, and then and it's explained, he'll fix his mind on Krishna's lotus feet and then give up his material body. And we have examples within the Bhagavatam and within Chaitanya Charitamrita of different personalities having different powers. And specifically the powers they have are the powers to leave their body at any particular time that they want. Can anybody think of some examples in the Bhagavatam off the top of your head? Some examples where they, by their power, they left either, at a particular time? Okay, Bhishma Dev, and who else? Some other. Dhritarashtra, yeah?
What is it?
Dhritarashtra, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, Sati. Yeah. Sati, is it? No, anyways. Sati. So, you have her, you have Dhritarashtra, you have Bhishma Dev. So these are different personalities who, by their yogic powers, they were able to leave at a particular time. And in some case, like Sati, she was, as I understand it, she was young. She wasn't elderly. Yeah, very young. And what did she do? She self-emulated. Okay. Yeah, lit her body on fire. She's fired up. Mukundacharya says, and there's a whole pastime why she did that, for good reason. And also, Dhritarashtra did a similar thing. And then Bhishma, he was really powerful. I mean, he was laying on a bed of arrows. There's a picture in the Bhagavatam where devotees painted a picture of Bhishma Dev and a bunch of arrows through his body. And it said that Arjuna, he shot an arrow right next to Bhishma Dev, and then what happened? Some Ganges water came out, right? He was thirsty. So devotees sometimes say, he shot the arrow and some ginger brew came out. It's like a stream, So, you have Dhritarashtra, Bhishma Dev, Sati. So these are, you could imagine how powerful these personalities were. I mean, who could do that now, right? Very difficult. And Bhishma Dev specifically, he was laying on the bed of arrows, and what was he waiting for? He was waiting for Krishna to come, and he wanted to take darshan of Krishna before he left, and that's what he did. So in some cases you have devotees or personalities who are suspending their death for a particular reason, like Bhishma Dev, he was suspending it, right? He could have most normal, or you could say ordinary individuals, they would have left. I mean, bed of arrows, you're gone. The soul's leaving. But he suspended it, right? And then with Sati and Dhritarashtra, they accelerated it. They wanted to go faster than their normal course of life would have panned out, their death. They want it faster, accelerate it. And then you have examples of devotees who they didn't manifest this power of suspending their death or the death of their body or accelerating it, but specifically they wanted to commit suicide. Now, ordinarily within life, suicide is it's wrong thing to do. because one's taking their life or trying to take their life, because ultimately people don't die. They're trying to, okay, I'm suffering, I'm undergoing a lot of misery, a lot of difficulty. Okay, let me end my life. But the thing is, their soul continues on. It says those people become ghosts, one thing. But after that ghost term, then of course, they keep on living. So in other words, it's not a real solution. It is a false solution based on the bodily concept of life and on ignorance. So generally we say, that is a mode of ignorance thing to do, to try to kill one's body. But although that's there, and we accept that that's a mode of ignorance thing to do, and unfortunately it's really prevalent nowadays. And of course there's so many statistics, and it just keeps on, it's not going down, it keeps on going up. And aside from it going up, it's a lot more of the youth are now committing suicide. Teenagers. Which, my mother, she's like, of course everybody has a perspective, but she said, when I was a teenager, no one was doing that. Hardly anybody was, as teenagers, committing. What do they have to be? But nowadays, somehow or other, through whatever financial worries, through family worries, through broken families, through drug abuse, through social media, through illicit sex. That's a huge thing. Everybody thinks, so great, illicit sex. Well, why are these people's minds so disturbed and demented to the point of them, committing suicide? Largely it's because they're, they don't have any sense control, mind control, sense control, and that sleeping around with people, that really messes with their mind, actually. They start feeling lack of self-worth, self-esteem. They feel lack of self-esteem, and part of that is because people see them like that. In other words, people see them as objects to be used for their own gratification, and mentally or physical gratification. And because they're being seen as practically just objects, then they think, what's the use of my life? I am pretty worthless. The only use I really have, just everybody's trying to use me, right? So they say, okay, what's the use of my life? I'll just commit suicide. And there's so many other reasons. So we say that this is, born of ignorance and unfortunate circumstances. Now, although that's there, and we say that, there are Vaishnavas, examples of Vaishnavas, who had in their mind the idea of committing suicide. And they are some of our main acharyas. These aren't like, you could say, these aren't just, I don't want to say any old Vaishnavas or some neophyte or just anybody. It's not like some new bhakta or something. He decides he's angry and confused and disturbed and just wants to commit suicide, and he may do it. But these are our main acharyas, and you know who those are? Yeah, Sanatana Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami. These are their 6 Goswamis, or 2 of them. Sanatana Goswami, he was wanting to commit suicide, and one of the ways the idea he had was he was going to go underneath the wheel of Lord Jagannath. And that's how he was going to commit suicide. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he's Krishna, he knew he had this desire. And right now I'm forgetting What was the main reason? Because he had all those sores? Yeah. The pus and sores, and then and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to embrace him, and he did embrace him, and then he was, passing the pujaris, and he was just thinking, I'm just going to contaminate everybody, and I'll just commit suicide. What's the use? I'm just a disturbance here. So he had that in his mind, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was serious. It wasn't like he wasn't joking. Sometimes people they make threats, right? Oh, they tell their girlfriend, oh, if you don't stay with me, I'll just kill myself, Or they tell their parents, oh, you just stop treating me, I'll kill myself, or whatever. People make threats. But he wasn't just making he was serious about it. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood that, and then he told him, he said that you can't take your body. Your body is mine. You're my servant, and your body is mine. And he said specifically, I have many things I want to do through you. Means many good things. In other words, using you, utilizing you as an instrument for my service. Writing books, spreading Krishna consciousness, doing so many things. So then he didn't do it. So similarly, we should try to think like that as well. Not that, oh, well, who am I, and low self-esteem, and discouragement, and depression, and anxiety, and it's never going to work out. I'm never going to be Krishna conscious. I might as well just join the circus, join Maya's circus. I might as well just end my life, right? End my spiritual. It's practically like committing suicide, right? Going into Maya's realm. I might as well just give up Krishna consciousness, or I might as well slow down, or sometimes in extreme cases, I might as well literally commit suicide. But we shouldn't think like that. We think, okay, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, they can, by their mercy, engage me in such a way as where I could be an instrument for them. Right? That's like in the Bhagavad Gita. What does it say? Savyasachan? Yeah. Nimittamatran? Yeah. Savyasachan. That act as my instrument, Arjuna. That's what Krishna is saying. So that's one example. Sanatana Goswami. And then Raghunath Das Goswami. This is also one of our main acharyas, Raghunath Das Goswami. Very important. One of the most important personalities within the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And he also wanted to commit suicide. And you remember, the younger devotees, remember how he wanted to commit suicide? Raghunath Das Goswami. Yeah, he wanted to jump off Govardhan. Yeah, he was feeling separation from Lord Chaitanya. There's a very interesting shloka. I wish, anyways, maybe somebody could look it up. I don't know, but it's a little, I don't know, it's not so common, but devotees know about it, but he's comparing Vrindavan and all these different places to, like a snake and different, yeah, he's feeling separation. It's like devouring him, Anyways, interesting. So, of course, he didn't do that either. The devotees stopped him, and I believe they said, please tell us about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's what he would do. On the bank of Radhakund every day, he would tell devotees for a few hours about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. So now you have two. You have the materialistic people committing suicide or wanting to commit suicide, and then you have the devotees who sometimes, there's examples. Sati, Dhritarashtra, and there's examples of them wanting to. Now, there's also the case of Srila Prabhupada's father, which I heard he had some disease and he was elderly. Srila Prabhupada's father. And a Vaishnava way to accelerate your death is to fast. That's considered okay. If you are of a particular age and you have a particular disease and you felt that you've done what you need to do in this world, then you could just fast until you leave the body. And sometimes, I heard that's what Srila Prabhupada's father did. And Srila Prabhupada himself was fasting, which was a very interesting, if you read, everyone should read, of course, if you read Srila Prabhupada, everyone should read Prabhupada Lilamrita. But in the end of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, of course, his concluding pastimes in this world, it's a very interesting thing, that dynamic that's going on with Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, because Prabhupada, he is saying, what's the use? My body's, he said, this is a bag of bones, and I'm going to fast. But then all the devotees, they're going back and forth, and they're saying, Prabhupada, we want you to stay here. And then at one particular point, Prabhupada said, okay, you want me to stay here? Okay, fine. And he said, bring a glass of orange juice. So then they brought the glass of orange juice, and Prabhupada drank the whole thing. And anyways, they're going back and forth, and very interesting, actually. Tamal Krishna Goswami, he wrote a drama on it called, anyways, I'm forgetting, what is it? Srila Prabhupada's Final Pastimes or something, but Tamal Krishna Goswami, yeah, I forgot, yeah. It's one of the main books he wrote. So they're going back and forth, and then at one particular point, Prabhupada said, okay, then he just, also Prabhupada wanted to go around Govardhan. He wanted to go around Govardhan on a bullock cart. And the doctor was telling devotees that if he does this, he's not going to, he's going to leave his body. So practically, devotees look at it as like, this is suicidal. So you had two parties, two groups of devotees, and some of the devotees were saying, okay, yes, Srila Prabhupada, we'll follow your orders, we'll arrange a bullock cart, everything. And the other group was saying, no, we can't let you do this. So then they're going back and forth. And the devotees were getting so emotional that if we let Prabhupada go, he's going to leave his body, and it's not going to be good. It's so bumpy, and especially back then, Govardhan, Vrindavan. So then eventually Prabhupada said, okay, fine, I won't go. And Prabhupada made a comment to his godbrother, Kinshana Krishna Das Babaji, said, just see how much they love me. Right? So, that's this idea of fasting. And specifically, it's saying here about Prithu Maharaj that he accelerated at the time of death. He said that he was engaged in the yoga process that accelerates giving up the body while one is in sound health physically and mentally. And Prabhupada says every devotee desires to give the body while it is sound physically and mentally. And he quotes that verse, Krishna Tvadiya Padapankaja. So, this is also very interesting dynamic, because they're saying, because the King Kulak Shekhar and the devotees were thinking, well, let me just die when I'm healthy. And my body is working, my mind is working, right? Not that when I'm all, diseased, my body's diseased, my mind's out of order. And why is that? Because if you're able to do that, then you could focus on Krishna. You could focus on Krishna. Now, for a lot of people who are hearing this, maybe this doesn't mean much to them. Well, so what? What is this a talk? How to prepare for death? I'm not an old man, right? But we could see it in the sense that, okay, we should be preparing for death, whether we're old or not, whether our bodies are old or not. Srila Prabhupada said, you don't know how old you are, right? Old means you're about to die, and nobody knows when that's going to happen. But specifically, we could think of it, if we don't want to think about it in terms of our last days or our last moments, we could think about it in the sense of throughout our life, that when one is physically unhealthy, and you could say mentally unhealthy, it's very difficult to remember Krishna. So the idea is that we want to keep good health. Srila Prabhupada said, work hard for Krishna, and what did he say? Said, stay healthy and work hard for Krishna. That is our motto in life. So we can't abuse our physical bodies by being unhealthy, because then it'll be difficult to remember Krishna. So that's there as well. Whether we're in our last days or throughout our life, we want to be healthy. And as Prabhupada once said, he said, if you do not remain healthy, even if you want to preach, you won't be able to. You'll be, in your bed. Or you'll be slowed down from it. And that happens. Devotees, they get sick and they have to slow down their preaching. They can't travel as much. They can't, sometimes they can't go to the temple in the mornings. I mean, you have a certain sickness and it won't allow you to come in the morning and be here with the devotees. Sometimes devotees stop coming to the temple altogether because they're sick. And I mean, I know this one devotee here in SanDiego, and he could hardly leave his apartment because he's just so sick. And sometimes, unless you're a big devotee, you won't get many visitors, right? If you're sick and won't get many visitors, maybe somebody will have mercy on you. Just like that Mataji, what was her name? She passed away recently. What is it? Yeah, Vaikuntha Murti. And I'm sure she was a good devotee and in many ways, and but she wasn't a big devotee, means some big famous devotee, and because of that, not many people were visiting. She was sick for years, 10 years or something. And, of course she had her daughter and, Madhusudan and Kanchanabal. There's a few devotees, and I'm not trying to, put some guilt trip on others. I'm just saying it's a reality. It happens sometimes. So, in other words, there's so many unfortunate things that arise, that can arise if someone becomes sick physically. So therefore, Prabhupada wanted devotees to try to maintain their health. Prabhupada always ended his letters, right? May this meet you in good health. He's accelerating the process, and Prabhupada's bringing this point about dying when everything's in a healthy state. Why? Because generally one is overpowered by mucus and bile unless he chokes. And it's very difficult to vibrate any sound because we want to chant Hare Krishna, right? That's what a devotee wants to do, remember Krishna at the time of death. So it's very difficult. But if we practice throughout our life, then it will be easy. And that's the whole point. We have to practice throughout our life because it is no guarantee that we're going to be in some physically, mentally sound situation. In other words, things are disturbing at that time. So therefore, if we practice throughout our life, then we will have a good chance of remembering Krishna at the time of death. And then we'll have a chance of we go back to the spiritual world. And if we don't practice, and practice means practice properly, then it will be difficult. And aside from that, we're really supposed to we're supposed to become dhiras. Dhiras means sober, means undisturbed. And a sober person, what to speak of death, but there's so many other disturbances within life that can easily disturb people. just like this thing going on right now, it's disturbing people. People are losing it. People are, I'm sure in some cases, committing suicide. Like I heard the other day, there's 2 people, they're going to the grocery store, and of course everybody's clearing out everything. So these people came back crying, right? 2 people came back crying to their husband or to their roommate. Now we could say, oh, well, I mean, it's kind of silly, right? I mean, crying because there's no water or toilet, so just get over it, you know. But it's a real thing within those people's minds. It's a real thing. People are struggling financially. So many different things are going on. So, in other words, there are disturbing situations that will come into our lives, without a doubt. So we have to become dhira, which means undisturbed by those. And how do we do that? We become dhira by hearing from, Prabhupada says in the Sri Upanishad, the undisturbed authorities. That means you got to read regularly srimadbhagavatam, and you have to finish it. Not, 50 years go by and you haven't finished the Bhagavatam. And you have to read Chaitanya Charitamrita and finish it. Not that 150 years go by and you don't finish the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's not a good policy. Prabhupada didn't want that. The reason he wrote them was for devotees could read them, and not only just read them, like, I read here, I read there, I read here, I read there, I read Chaitanya Charitamrita I kind of jumped around, but read it from beginning to end, at least once, for God's sake, for your sake. Or else, what type of movement are we? It's like, it almost becomes cultish. It's like we're worshiping a whole bunch of personalities. We don't even know who they are. I mean, who's Prabhupada? I don't know. I never read his biography. I never read anything about him. There's like 50, 100 books out about him, but never read it. Who's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? I don't know. I never read anything. Never read Chaitanya Mangal. Never read Chaitanya Bhagavat. Never read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Never read anything. Who's Krishna? I don't know. I never read Krishna book. Okay, well, what are you doing then? I mean, who are you worshiping? You don't even know who you're worshiping. And then people leave. They wonder why they leave. And they think then they write books about it. Oh, Hare Krishna's a cult. Yeah, you think it's a cult because you didn't know what you're doing the whole time. And they write books, and they put it on Amazon, Kindle, and all these nonsense books. Betrayal of the spirit, and, blah, 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 blah. It means you didn't understand anything. You have no faith in God, and you're just a offender, big criticizer. Because you didn't understand the essence, because you didn't read and you didn't practice properly. And and it's a great age for those people. Kali Yuga, great age for criticizers. It's the best age for criticizers, right? Because any fool and any rascal could just get online and start typing all day and all night until the cows come home, and then they just get another material body, another material birth, all in the name of Krishna consciousness. No spiritual advancement, no going back to Godhead, nothing. Just out and out offenders. Great age for those people. So we have to guard ourselves from not getting absorbed in those people, and we have to guard ourselves from not becoming those people. And when we won't become those people, we have to take advantage of Srila Prabhupada's books and know who we're worshiping. Who is Jagannath? You have to read books about Jagannath. What's Govardhan, right? Who are these personalities? Jagannath Das Babaji and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila. Who are they? You won't know unless you read or hear. So therefore we have to hear. And then we could have a glorious life, and we could have a glorious death. All in Krishna consciousness. So, all right, does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes.
Sorry. When you read this verse and you see it says, what is it, 3:28 we were at?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, that's the date, 13.
4:23:13.
Yeah. So it says Atmani, the Atmani, that's as the super soul.
Yes.
And Prabhupada says firmly upon the lotus feet of Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you read in context, this looks like, well, maybe he's meditating on a super soul and probably, but actually, when you go back, the famous verse is actually referred to in one of the purports we recently read, Yatpada Pankaja Balasa Valasa Bhakti. This is one of the last instructions of Sanat Goswami. He's describing how the devotee who is enjoying the pleasure of serving the lotus feet of the Lord, that pleasure itself, that transcendental pleasure, destroys the knots, cuts the knots in the heart. Karma, but those who don't have any bhakti, even though they may be very austere yogis, eventually yield to the impulse. And then the last two words, Bhaja Vasudevam.
Mm-hmm.
That's Krishna.
Yes.
Vasudeva. And so he followed that instruction in his sadhana. And even though some of the verses just describe this incredible, austerity that he was undergoing, that's the subtext. That he's all doing it, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, and sometimes even in the verse translation. He's just doing it for the service of Krishna. And so it's important to understand the whole sweep of the what we're reading in context. This is often what happens to devotees. Sometimes they they don't know why we made a certain change in the book like that, because they don't, because it's all the context, Without reading in context, you tend to focus on one thing. Prabhupada said this, and why did you change it? Because before and after it, he said this, and this is, and this needs to be adjusted a little bit so it fits in with everything like that. I just wanted to share that, because I was looking at this verse, Atmani, the super soul, and Prabhupada says, the lotus feet of Krishna. It's in the context of everything else.
Yeah, they have a saying, it's you got to read the text in context.
Exactly.
Because, or else there's a lot of confusion, or people like misquote things. So just like if you say, oh, well, there was a case, Prabhupada told some person attached to alcohol, he said, oh, if you drink wine, you drink it, and you just think this is the taste of Krishna, then you're being Krishna conscious. So that was, someone can't run with that and say, okay, hey, well, Prabhupada said you could drink wine, and then really there's a whole off branch of ISKCON, and they do this, they do that, they do so many things, and part of their program is they have a wine sacrament or something, prasad. No, I'm just saying, but they start a whole. The club they start is based on all types of misquoting and the misinterpretation, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the healing herb, So they okay, understand, all right, yeah. The healing herb, it's marijuana, right? Ganja. And then they quote this thing, Prabhupada told this guy he could drink wine. Okay, yeah, we'll drink wine too. And then they say, sorry for bringing it up, but they say, I am, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Kamosmi, Padadarshaba, I am sex life. Kama. Yeah, which is not against religious principles. So, or they quote so many other things, right? Or they say, oh, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita of what is it? Of gamblers, I am the greatest cheat. All right, well, hey, we're just following his, footsteps here. So all these types of things. Of course, you could say these are quite extreme, but yeah, there's many examples of, you could say, not reading things in proper context. So.
Which you referred to. I think it was in New York. He was on a morning walk, and he would go to Central Park, and I know Central Park. If you leave the park, you're on the street, and to see some bodegas, some little place. So Prabhupada was thirsty, and he asked him to get him a 7-Up.
Yeah.
It's like a Limca.
Yeah,
it's like a
true.
Limca. It's lemon soda. So, there's a whole bunch of devotees there, some big devotees, so, whoa, Prabhupada liked 7-Up. All of a sudden, all the temples, everyone was drinking 7-Up.
Yeah.
I said, wait a minute.
Yeah, I remember, it's true, yeah, devotees. Yeah, Shrutakirti wrote about it. He said that they were traveling, and they go to some temple, And yeah, there'd be like, packs, a lot of 7-Up. You see a bunch of 7-Up cans everywhere. I was like, what's going on with, and then, he cut it off. Because he apparently did it a few times. There's a few places in the world, Prabhupada was drinking the can like that, but he didn't do it that much. That's so funny, huh? That's so funny. We'll have to read that sometime, the Shruti Kirti's pastime, because. All right. Okay, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.